They say they are free, that they do as they please, that they live as they wish. Poor creatures, they are slaves, though wearing a smile as a facade. True freedom, the kind that truly matters, is not doing whatever one wants, but choosing how to react in the face of the inevitable. Most live under the invisible yoke of circumstances, dominated by external events, by applause and jeers, by fortune and misfortune. Like emotional marionettes, they surrender their state of mind into others' hands. But I tell you this, the truly free person is not the one who rules the world. It is the one who rules himself, even when the world collapses around him. If you are not ready to hear this, leave now. This video is not comfort for fragile souls. But if you can endure the pain of lucidity, like the video and stay with me. Because here I do not offer hope. I offer the brutal weight of responsibility. Happiness is not a gift. It is a construction. There is no victimhood here, no excuses. There exists only the abyss where each person faces their own reflection. The fool demands luck. The strong build serenity amid chaos, because peace is not out there. It has always been in the only place few dare to seek, within themselves. But why then do most fail? Why do they live self-sabotaging, stumbling over their own feet like children afraid of their own shadows? The answer is simple and brutal. Fear. Irrational, silent, corrosive fear. Fear of failure, of being judged, of being rejected, of losing. These fears need no external enemies. They themselves plant failure even before the battle begins. It is the self-fulfilling prophecy. The man who fears falling already falls in thought, already rehearses his ruin in his mind, already envisions his humiliation. And so when the real blow comes, it is no surprise. He has prepared it himself. Fear is the secret sculptor of the weak's destiny. Fed in the subterranean depths of the mind, it molds cowardly choices, petty decisions, submissive behaviors. The diseased mind focuses on risk, and risk, when contemplated obsessively, grows and devours. Modern neuroscience, with all its technical arrogance, only confirms what has always been known. That on which you fix your focus expands. What you feed with your attention grows. The man who contemplates failure prematurely has already lost. He who sees danger everywhere has already paralyzed his own potential. Fear is an invisible poison that fools call prudence. Therefore, I tell you, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the capacity to walk even with fear at your side. The great man does not wait for fear to vanish because it never vanishes. He tames it, transforms it into inner steel. It is easy to act when the path is clear, when guarantees exist. But it is in moments of crisis, uncertainty, and opposition that true power is tested. Functional courage, that is indeed the supreme gift. To stand firm when everyone around you collapses. To speak the truth when silence would be safer. To move forward when the soul trembles. Most cannot bear that weight. They live kneeling before others' approval, enslaved by the fear of criticism. They are voluntary prisoners in an invisible jail. Other people's opinion. They do not dare, they do not innovate, they do not live. They merely exist within accepted rules so as not to be pointed out, mocked, rejected. This prison is more effective than any physical chain because the jailer lives inside the mind. These are men who sell their souls for a handful of social approval, crawling for a smile of acceptance. They renounce greatness in exchange for comfort. But I tell you, the man who fears judgment will never know the taste of true freedom. But there is a final bastion where even the prisoner can find redemption, the choice of attitude. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in the horror of concentration camps, discovered what so many free people ignore. Even when everything is taken from you, the power to choose how to respond remains. Behold the last inviolable refuge of human freedom. The world may crush your body, but it cannot seize your consciousness without your consent. And it is in that interval, between stimulus and response, that man forges or shatters his own greatness. Most live on emotional autopilot. They are reactive like animals. Provoked, they explode. Contradicted, they crumble. There is no space between feeling and acting. They are slaves of their own emotions. But the superior man cultivates that space. He does not react, he chooses. He transforms that interval into a throne of emotional sovereignty. The stimulus comes, blood boils, anger pulses, and he remains steady, analyzes, decides. There resides power. There is true mastery, not over others, but over oneself. He who does not govern himself will never govern anything. And yet, the weak will continue to say, "But it's hard, it's unfair, I can't." Poor wretches. They cannot because they love their excuses more than they love freedom. Resignation is the sweet poison that kills in silence. It is surrender disguised as realism. It is emotional suicide practiced in tiny daily doses. At the first sign of difficulty, discomfort, or pain, they give up. And then they call it accepting reality. I tell you, accepting mediocrity is not wisdom. It is cowardice varnished in philosophy. Life, my friends, is not gentle with those who crawl. It respects those who fight. Resignation spares no one from suffering. It only makes them useless. Suffering for growth is noble. Suffering to flee is humiliating. The man who retreats before the challenge is already dead in spirit, even if his body still walks. With each renunciation of one's own potential, one digs an emotional grave in which one will be buried alive. And there will be no flowers in that grave, only the silence of what could have been. It is preferable to fall in battle than to rot in resignation. And what separates builders from crawlers? It is not talent, not luck, not intelligence. It is purpose. A man without purpose is like a boat without a rudder, at the mercy of tides, winds, the whims of chance. But the one who carries a burning objective in his chest transforms chaos into stepping stones. Every blow of fate becomes building material. Purpose is the internal fire that warms you in the storm, illuminates you in the darkness, sustains you when the body falters. Without it, man is dust. With it, he is rock. But most fear choosing a true purpose. They prefer to wander after fragile, generic, diluted goals because a real purpose demands sacrifice. It demands discipline, renunciation, vigilance. It forces the man out of comfortable neutrality and exposes his soul to the risk of grand failure. It is easier to say I'm open to anything than to declare this is the path I will follow, even if I bleed along the way. Builders do not wait for the wind to be favorable. They raise their own winds. And when they stumble, they do not abandon their project. They merely recalibrate it with even greater precision. But wishing is not enough. Wishes are cheap. Everyone has wishes. The differentiator lies in the emotional discipline that sustains the path when motivation evaporates, because it always evaporates. Initial enthusiasm is a fragile spark. The flame is kept alive by habit, forged in the steel of repetition. While fools quit at the first sign of fatigue, the strong press on. They do not wait to be motivated. They act even when the blood has cooled, even when the world seems indifferent. There begins the difference between dreaming and accomplishing, and it is precisely in conscious visualization that the builder sharpens his mind. He does not imagine failure. He rehearses victory, preparing body and psyche for success before the battle begins. This is not naive optimism, but programming one's nervous system to act with conviction. The mind, like a well-trained soldier, needs to practice success before facing it on the real field. He who daily visualizes the path traversed has already won half the war before the first blow is struck. The loser rehearses his fall, the victor his ascent. But there is an even deeper secret. True mastery is not over the external world. It is over one's own mind. He who rules his thoughts governs his destiny. Most live enslaved by impulses, by disordered inner voices, by inherited narratives. They are puppets pulled by memories, fears, and anxieties they do not even recognize. They do not own their own consciousness. They are chained guests within their own heads. But the strong man is the architect of his own thoughts. He decides what to feed, what to cultivate, what to destroy within himself. His mind is not a public square. It is a private temple. This mental sovereignty grants the individual the greatest power, choosing his response to any stimulus. Between the blow and the reaction, there is always an instant, a microscopic space where the free man resides. The weak explode, the strong breathe. While the crowd writhes in outbursts of anger, envy, fear, or vanity, the sovereign remains serene, not because he does not feel, but because he governs what he feels. There lies true power, not in controlling the world, but in remaining uncontrollable by the world. And see, it is right here that most fail. They confuse emotional control with repression. They believe that governing emotions means suffocating them, burying them, pretending they do not exist. Foolishness. The repressed is not strong, he is a time bomb ready to explode. The true master of himself feels everything, but is selective in his responses. He allows emotions to pass through him, but does not let them govern him. He is not an emotional corpse, but a psychic alchemist who transforms fear into prudence, anger into focus, pain into discipline. While the slave drowns in every sensation, the master navigates through them as one who rules his own ocean. And so, the man who masters his emotions masters his destiny. While the rest of the world lives reacting like leaves in the wind, he becomes an unshakable rock. Do not be deceived. The world respects the unflappable. In negotiations, in relationships, in battles, he who shows no need commands the arena. The immature reacts at the first blow. The sovereign observes, calculates, and strikes only when all have already lost their heads. The silence of the strong screams louder than the despair of the weak. But the great enemy of this inner fortress is not suffering. It is the modern addiction to validation. Others' approval has become the new emotional currency of slavery. Men live like fish, starving for crumbs of applause, for likes, for social acceptance. They build identities not based on their essence but on the reflection they wish to provoke. They are mirrors of mirrors, empty of themselves. The more they need to be loved, the more they lose respect. Because the world despises those who beg, and ironically, bows before those who do not ask. Supreme freedom begins when the man renounces the need to be understood. The true sovereign does not beg for explanations, does not seek an audience, does not cry for recognition. He simply is. And by being complete in himself, he becomes inevitable. His presence need not please everyone, and he does not desire to please, because to be loved by all is to be a slave to all. Respect is born precisely where the fear of displeasing dies. Only when one no longer needs acceptance will one finally be respected. And so we understand, inner peace is not a state of comfort, it is a violent discipline. Most dream of peace without battles, without pain, without renunciations. Naive. Real peace is born from conquering oneself, after defeating the inner voices that plead for cowardice, that whisper surrender. Every small victory over fear, over vanity, over the childish need for approval is a brick in that fortress. There is no shortcut. There is no miracle. Only work. Dirty, solitary, merciless work that only the few strong can endure. Therefore, my friends, life is an arena where only two kinds exist: builders and the resigned. The first erect themselves every day. They fall, rise, polish themselves, correct themselves, harden their spirit. The second kneel at the first contrary breeze. They seek excuses, outsource blame, sink into sterile laments. With each new difficulty, they surrender a piece of their own will until only an emotional corpse remains dressed in normality. The builder, on the other hand, transforms each blow into a step, and thus he rises, while the other sinks. But do not be fooled. The builder is not cold and insensitive. On the contrary, his strength is born precisely because he feels everything, yet yields to nothing. He knows despair, fear, doubt, but he crosses them as one who sails storms without losing his course. That is why, in the end, he possesses what the fragile will never have: dignity, the dignity of one who did not sell his soul to soothe anxiety, of one who did not exchange inner silence for the noise of external approval. His peace is not the absence of pain, it is sovereignty over pain. See then the complete picture. Inner freedom is not a gift, it is a daily conquest. It is not a presence embraced comfortably, but a structure built brick by brick. It is not the absence of suffering, but mastery over suffering. It is not being spared from criticism, but being indifferent to it. It is not waiting for the world to improve, it is rising up despite it. And when finally a man occupies that internal throne, everything else becomes small. External victory no longer seduces him, and external defeat no longer destroys him. He belongs to the invisible minority of the indomitable. And while the crowd cries out for easy formulas, for instant comfort, for emotional shortcuts, the indomitable continues his silent march. He does not need to be understood, for he carries within him the greater understanding. that no one will come to save him. That happiness is not a destination, but a continuous act of rebellion against one's own weakness. He does not ask for a better world, he becomes better. And precisely for that reason, he becomes free where others remain chained under the guise of normality. Observe them well. Emotional slaves are everywhere, too busy with their dramas, their offenses, their disputes over crumbs of validation. Meanwhile, the builder rules his silence. He does not need to win every day. He only needs not to surrender. His strength lies in constancy, not in euphoria, in sobriety, not in display. His greatest victory is not public, but private, waking up every day and carrying on. This is the secret that fools cannot stand to hear, because it demands daily courage, not a Sunday miracle. And I ask you, who, after all, is more powerful? He who drags crowds with empty speeches, or he who, alone, in silence, commands his own mind? External glory can be torn away at any moment. Fortune, prestige, fame, all can collapse like a house of cards, but the man who possesses himself cannot be dispossessed. No thief can steal his inner sovereignty. No crisis can dismantle his dignity. He is, in essence, invincible. And in this world of emotional fragility, where everyone screams to be seen, the true sovereign stands out precisely by not needing to be noticed. His strength is not in the spectacle, it is in the depth, while others sell their souls for a moment of approval. He remains whole even when misunderstood, because true peace does not depend on who applauds you, but on who you are when no one is watching. And that, my friends, is the greatest terror of the masses, that there still exist men who do not need them. If up to this point you have endured, congratulations. You have already crossed the barrier where the weak give up. But now comes the final blow. All this is not theory, not empty philosophy. It is practice. It is everyday life. With each small gesture, you decide whether you march toward your fortress or toward your prison. With each emotional response, each thought you cultivate, each attitude in the face of fear, you either feed your greatness or finance your slavery. Inner freedom is built in the invisible, in choices that no one sees, but that define who you are. Therefore, if you still expect a life without pain, leave now. This video is not for those seeking relief. It is for those seeking power. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you are ready to bear the weight of your own crown, because here I offer no shortcuts, only hammers, the hammer that shatters your fragile illusions so that you may build upon the rubble your true fortress. And when at last the fortress stands within you, you will realize the secret that few know. The world can no longer touch you. Criticism will not pierce you. Defeat will not crush you. And not even success will intoxicate you. Because your peace does not depend on applause, your joy does not require circumstances, and your worth does not need witnesses. You are whole, and only the whole know what it is to truly love, to fight without despair, and to lose without collapsing. Now listen well, you who remain. The true sovereign is not born. He is built. And while the rest of the world begs for mercy, you will be the rare one who carries his destiny in his own hands. Happiness will not come seeking you. It already lies there, hidden beneath the layers of weakness that I now command you to crush. Rise, not to be happy as the herd understands it, but to be free, which is the only form of true happiness.